Okay. We've got our DailyScape Overhaul blog, and I'm excited. I wanted to talk about this, seeing as I did a video about DailyScape already. I do have things to say about the early game rebalance, but I'm going to be talking about that. I mean, I'm going to be talking about the DailyScape as well on RSBNB next week. So I'll leave that for there, but I feel like I can't not talk about the DailyScape stuff. So let's jump into that. First off, we've got three broad categories, right? We've got stuff that's being adjusted, stuff that's being removed. I guess we have four categories. Stuff that they're exploring, and there's some stuff that they're not going to touch. We don't entirely know right now what all the stuff they're not going to touch is. We only have the stuff that's listed here. So in terms of being adjusted, Gathixian caches, I should probably zoom in on this, shouldn't I? Gathixian caches are being removed as a daily and are being integrated into the core training loop. This is almost what I was advocating for, but there's a slight difference here that I think is actually really important. So the way that they are adjusting this is not including it as a core training activity, but maintaining its identity as a distraction and diversion. So instead of on the hour a cache opening and then getting a ton of experience for it, what they are doing is making it so that while you are training invention, oh my god, while you are training divination, while you are depositing memories into the rift, after a certain point a cache will open for you and you'll be able to jump in and do the activity with some changes. There's still the 100 point cap, and then you will get experience from doing so in the same way that you have with adjusted experience rates. The thing that I advocated for previously was changing it so that this was part of the core training experience, which you could argue that this is, except that this is not a thing that you could go and do at any point in time. This is a thing that you have to... This is an active training method that in order to do, you need to go and spend X amount of time doing an inactive training method. You need to sit at rifts, depositing hundreds, thousands, I'm not entirely sure what the balancing on that is going to be, in order to then do an active activity. The way that it feels like they are looking at this, right, is as part of that distraction and diversion identity, instead of decoupling from it and making it a core training activity. And that's fine, but I don't think it's ideal. I think that we're losing something in not having the choice of being like, I want to focus on training this thing explicitly in an attentive way. That all being said, this is such a massive improvement. This is incredible. So I really can't complain too much. Next we have shop stock, which, again, I really don't care for the way that they've done this. So what they've done is, instead of shop restocking every day, instead of a rune shop getting 1,000 elemental runes every day and that restocking every day, they're changing it so that rune shops will stock an additional 1,000 elemental runes every day with a stack up to 7,000. So you could do shop runs once a week. And it is true that only having to do something once a week is better than having to do something every day, to the degree that you had to do any of these shop runs to begin with. It's better, but it doesn't really address the issue at hand here. You're not fixing the problem of there being a resource that is tied under some time gate behind a shop. You're just making it so that you don't have to deal with it every day. It's not an everyday chore. It's a once a week chore. It's doing laundry instead of doing the dishes, which is like better. But it's not It's not great. It's better, but it's not great. Soul Reaper, I'm surprised by a little bit. No longer have a daily cap. Instead, you'll be able to train the Slayer skill via bossing as much as you would like. Reaper points will have a weekly cap, but Slayer points won't. We'll be looking at making any content or balancing tweaks where appropriate to reflect this change. So it sounds like you're going to be getting Slayer points from doing Reaper tasks as well. Possibly making balance changes to the Soul Reaper points. It's unclear if they're looking at changing the way that the task system works for Soul Reaper instead of making it more like Slayer as opposed to keeping it as is, specifically right with the ability to choose your assignment. We'll see how the details play out for this. I don't love that there's a weekly cap. That feels like an arbitrary addition. But depending on what that is, that probably won't matter except for, like, high-end. And high-end not as in, like, high level, but, like, that might only be an effect that is relevant for people who substantially only do bossing when they are logged into the game. And that just preventing them from having a disproportionate effect on the cost of Hydrixes. We'll see how that works out. Modified headgear being no longer having free items. Great, that's fine. I mean, the free items weren't really a big deal anyway. But that's great to see. Wicked Hood, no longer having free items or teleports. Perfect. I think that's perfectly fine. 10 out of 10 no notes. Fish Flingers is one that I hadn't really considered, I don't think. I guess it has daily caps on tickets or something. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think I've ever participated in Fish Flingers, or maybe I've played it once. But moving it from a daily D&D to just a thing that you can do, perfect, great. That's sort of the whole point of what they should be doing with these D&Ds. They've done the same thing here with the Evil Tree. Buff still to be obtained after successfully defeating tree. Yeah, that's fine. The Evil Tree was not, like, significantly strong such that the buffs were relevant anyway. I don't think that there should be any issue in just uncapping it. And maybe we'll need a slight tweak to it down the line. The Crystal Tree Blossom, I'm actually surprised with. They're doing a similar thing with the shops, except they're letting it store up to a month here, which I didn't think that there was any issue here. This is like one of 5 dailies that I had, 5 or 6 dailies that I had listed as being, like, actually fine, because this is just how farming works. So that's fine. I'm not upset that they're changing this. The XP reduction is, like, whatever. I mean, the reason that you do this is not for the experience, is for the Crystal Blossom, which you need for Perfect Plus potions. So, Red and Crystal Sandstone, they're doing exactly what I was advocating for, making it unlimited and adjusting the stats and the experience accordingly. That's great. That's wonderful. Phoenix, who cares? Bork, who cares? Wizard Cromperty, I found it really funny that is this relevant? Are people doing this? Is this relevant? People must be doing this for them to bother making this change. But that's fascinating to me. I don't care. This is, like, such an inoffensive daily. I included this as bloat rather than, like, being a thing that you needed to do. So that's fine. I actually think this might make people do it more than they already did, right? When you needed to go once a day to claim Pure Essence, it wasn't worthwhile. But if you need to spend that same amount of effort to get 7 times as much Pure Essence, you might be more inclined to do it than you would have either, so that could actually be having a negative effect there. Okay. Content being removed. Number 1, daily challenges. This update will remove daily challenges entirely. Hell yes! This is incredible. This is exactly what they should do. I was not concerned that they would not do it. I have not looked at Reddit yet. But my concern has always been that the players are not going to be on board with these changes. Let me rephrase that. There is a subset of players who will not be on board with these changes, and if they let those players have input on this, they would not be as bold as they need to be, but they are going in swinging and knocking out daily challenges and knocking out wilderness flash events. Wilderness flash events will be gone. Items like the Dark Onyx Core, Portable Obelisk, and Obelisk Shards will be made as drops from wilderness content. 10 out of 10. Wonderful. I think my read on this is probably a combination of Wildy Slayer and / or Wildy bosses. I mean, we don't really have notable Wildy bosses, so maybe that's not going to be the case. Thinking specifically of the Dark Onyx Core, it will be nice actually to have a portable onyx or portable obelisk, sorry, on the GIM. It's actually like low key kind of nice for a bunch of things. So having that available is going to be super cool. We understand how it can be fun to have so many players participating in something at the same time, so they're looking for additional things for social play. I think that is an important thing to consider in the removal of wilderness flash events. It's not sacred enough, like Penguins is, that you can't deal with it that way. But that is really notable, that there is something special about having a thing which people substantially all go to. So that is really, really good to see that they are aware of that. I'm so glad that those are gone. Motherlode Maw and Motherlode Shards. Fine, yeah, good. I'm glad to see that they are gone. They were not good to have, but they were not super offensive. The enhancers being gone is good. I think there's an enhancer from this that you can use for a free death at a Raxor, essentially. A free revive at a Raxor, which hardcores use, which is probably for the best that it's gone. But, like, this is not a thing that I've thought about in any meaningful way in a long time. Traveling Merchant is gone, which is incredible. This is so good. Traveling Merchant is, like, the deprecator in chief of like, so many different things. And, it fills me with so much joy to see Traveling Merchant gone. Traveling Merchant, Wilderness Flash Events, and Daily Challenges all being gone is, like, it's so good. Divine Locations are fine to go. They are, like, in very specific situations, very good. Mostly woodcutting. There's, like, a little bit of a dearth of experience in, like, mid-level woodcutting that these were really good for. Having them gone is nice. Same with the Evil Tree. Nobody really... They're, like, it's not a significant training method in terms of, like, this is not a core thing, but it was potentially disproportionate, and it was, again... The divine locations and the evil tree were more of a chore than they were a overpowered thing. So on the chore cleanup side of this is really great. Sinkholes are not a thing that I've really thought about or participated in. Irons were unable to partake in them until, like, a couple years ago, and they're just, like, it's awkward. I think you need exactly 5 players to do them. It's just, like, sinkholes being gone, it's just, like, a net positive, because they just didn't really contribute anything meaningful. They're just so awkward and bad. Anyway, Garaggio cards, no longer a free Garaggio card per day, like, fine. I don't think that was a big issue in terms of, like, this is a thing that people specifically went out of their way to do that much, because, like, Garaggio cards aren't that cheap. Sorry, they're not that expensive. But again, it's just one more thing that's gone. That's great. Rune Goldberg. Ooh, blue picture. Rune Goldberg. So Rune Goldberg being gone makes a ton of sense, right? If we're looking at auras being gone, we're reading that blog next week. If we're looking at daily challenges being gone, if we're looking at divine locations being gone, what, like, the only thing that Viswax does is quick teleports, right? And they are looking at focusing on that in the future in a different way. So that's great. No notes, 10 out of 10. I will say, right, so there have been some design considerations made with the fact that the Rune Goldberg machine exists. So notably, like, I think Zuck drops, is it smoke and steam runes? Something to that effect, right? There are some combination runes that are dropped from certain bosses and slayer creatures and things like that, right? And the reason substantially that those are dropped are because of the Rune Goldberg machine. I'm curious what will... Like, it's not a significant volume of them such that you could really use them for training magic or putting them in a rune pouch, and the inventory space is not really significant that you would need to worry about having -1 rune slot. So we'll see if they end up changing anything with that. I think if they don't end up changing anything, that's fine. Some combination runes in the economy is, I think, perfectly fine. So stuff that they're exploring, they want to do something with, but they don't know what they're going to do. Some of this stuff might not be changed if it's inoffensive. Wilderness warbands, those should just be removed. Raids, daily lockout. People have been clamoring for this for a long time. Serenity posts into a proper skilling method, I think, is great. Daily aquarium, daily decoration items, like, fine. The only one that is, like, of significant value is the once a week free elite clue, and, like, it's fine that that's gone. It also, like, wasn't that offensive, but, like, again, if it's inoffensive and it exists, it's in a thing that people might feel like they ought to do, they might feel obligated to do. I'm glad that it's being removed, right? So slime pit teleport, it's like, okay, removing slime pit teleport, your concern is, well, then buckets of slime are going to be obnoxious to get. And they're like, well, we'll just make buckets of slime easier to get. It's like, okay, great, perfect. Daily Tokul, okay. I don't know. Or is that, again, is that a thing that people are doing? Maybe not. I don't imagine it is, but I'm glad that they're making the change, right? I don't think that there should just be a whole series of things that exist as repeatable content when they don't. If the reason that they're staying is that they don't really cause any issue because they're so worthless, like, that's not a defense of it. If it's so powerful that it's worth doing, it should be removed because it has a deprecating effect. But if it's not needed to be removed because it's irrelevant, it's like, then it's just bloat and it should be removed. Looking at Shooting Stars, Big Chinchompa, Menaphos, Obelisk, Runesphere, Jadevine, that's so silly. Claimed Islands, Arc Contracts, Supply Run, Trinks Tasks, Gielinor, Heart of Gielinor Bounty, Book of Char. I think the Jadevine is kind of, like, funny because, like, it's an outcropping of the farming skill. But other than that, everything here, like, the more they get rid of, the happier I'm going to be. Again, even if it's inoffensive. So this is great. I'm loving basically everything here. The only thing that I really have quibbles with are the exact implementation of the Gathixian caches and the shop stock. But I mean, part of the issue is like fundamentally addressing the issues with shops is a much larger issue than they can get into with the scope of this update, I imagine. So I'm not surprised that this is what they ended up on. I think 7 might even be too small for to have the impact that I think that they want to have. I think 7 might be too small. Maybe 14 would be better. I don't think 30 feels unnecessary, but anyway. There's needless to say, there's like a whole bunch of other things that they haven't addressed here. Like the notable one being penguins. Penguins is an issue. And then they've also got things like effigy incubator, the giant oyster, and the god statues, and the troll invasion. Right? Those are all things that should also get cleared up. They're not nearly as big offenders as the rest of this, but they should be cleared up, and I haven't seen anything on this. So, I'll be back to talk about DailyScape if there's any more DailyScape updates. And until then, this has been awesome. I'm excited. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I will put down in the description a link when it is up. I was on RSBNB this week to talk about the new quest, and more importantly, the blog post we got earlier this week on the design philosophy for this coming year, which is I think this is right here. Road to Restoration, what we want to achieve. We had a long conversation about this last night. I'll link that in the description when it's up. And if I remember to come back next week after we talk about this and the early game balancing post and the combat beta in next week's podcast, I will link that down below as well. So until then, toodles.